The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and despair. But it was his text that cut deeper than any scalpel ever could: die alone. 3 words. Cold as the sterile tiles beneath my feet. Sent from the man I'd loved for 3 years. I stared at my phone, the screen blurring as my vision swam with tears. My body trembling not from the cancer eating my bones, but from the betrayal that shattered my heart. It was 2022, and New York City buzzed outside the window of my Brooklyn apartment, where Ethan and I had built a life. I was Jamie Carter, a 24-year-old barista with dreams of becoming a playwright. And Ethan was the charming graphic designer who'd swept me off my feet at a pride rally. His laughter was my favorite song. His hazel eyes my safe harbor. We'd met during a summer of glitter and rainbows, our hands brushing as we held up signs for equality. By our 3rd year, we were inseparable, sharing a cramped studio, late-night tacos, and whispered promises of forever. But forever cracked when I started feeling tired. Not the kind of tired coffee could fix. My bones ached. My skin paled. And Ethan noticed before I did. "You're working too hard," he'd say, brushing it off with a kiss. I believed him because I wanted to. Then came the diagnosis: leukemia. Aggressive. Stage 3. The doctor's voice was clinical, but her eyes were kind as she explained the chemo, the hospital stays, the fight ahead. I clung to Ethan that night, sobbing into his chest, and he held me, promising he'd be there. "We'll get through this, Jamie," he whispered, his voice steady. I trusted him. The first month was a blur of needles and nausea. Ethan was my rock, sneaking me my favorite matcha lattes, holding my hand through the 4 drips. But cracks started showing. He'd leave early, claiming work deadlines. His kisses grew rushed, his eyes distant. I told myself it was stress was carrying my weight. After all. Then, one night, I woke up alone in our bed, his side cold. My phone buzzed with a notification, a photo of him at a club, laughing with a stranger, posted on Instagram. My heart sank, but I swallowed the pain. He was coping, I reasoned. He'd come back. Weeks passed, and the hospital became my second home. Ethan's visits dwindled. He'd text excuses: client meeting, late night. Sorry. I'd lie in my hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, willing myself to believe he still loved me. The nurses were kind, but their pity stung. I needed him, his warmth, his voice, his promise that I wasn't fighting alone. Then came the night I couldn't breathe, the chemo leaving me weak and terrified. I called him, my hands shaking as I dialed. No answer. I texted, begging, "Ethan, I'm scared. Please come." Minutes later, his reply: "Die alone." The words landed like a punch. I read them again, then again, hoping I'd misread. My phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. The nurse found me curled up, sobbing, and she held me as I broke. Ethan, my Ethan, had abandoned me when I needed him most. The man who'd kissed my scars, who'd promised forever, had chosen to let me face death alone. I didn't sleep that night. Anger burned through the hurt, fueling me. If Ethan thought I'd crumble, he was wrong. I'd survived foster homes, homophobic slurs, and now cancer. I'd survive him too. The next morning, I blocked his number, deleted his photos, and focused on fighting. The hospital social worker, Maria, became my lifeline. She had a warm smile and fiercer determination than anyone I'd met. She connected me with a support group for young cancer patients. And that's where I met Lucas. Lucas was 26. A painter with a shaved head from his own chemo and eyes that sparkled with defiance. He'd been battling lymphoma for a year, and his humor was sharp, his optimism infectious. We bonded over bad hospital coffee and shared fears, our conversations stretching late into the night. He'd sneak in sketches, drawing me as a superhero with a pen as my weapon. "You're a writer, Jamie," he'd say. "Your story's not done yet." His belief in me felt like sunlight after months of darkness. As weeks turned to months, Lucas became my anchor. He'd sit with me during treatments, reading my half-finished plays aloud, his voice breathing life into my words. One day, he handed me a sketch of us 12 warriors, side by side, fighting invisible battles. "We're in this together," he said, and I felt something stir, something I hadn't felt since Ethan. It wasn't just gratitude. It was deeper, softer, scarier. I was falling for him, and it terrified me. I'd trusted love once, and it had gutted me. But Lucas was different. He showed up. Every day. When I was too weak to talk, he'd sit quietly, sketching. When I cried, he didn't flinch. He'd lost his family to bigotry when he came out. Yet he carried no bitterness, only hope. "You don't have to be strong all the time," he told me one night, his hand brushing mine. "Just let me carry some of it." I wanted to believe him, but Ethan's betrayal lingered like a ghost. One evening, after a brutal chemo session, Lucas wheeled me to the hospital roof. The New York skyline glittered below, a reminder of a world still turning. He pulled out a small canvas, painted with stars and two figures holding hands. "This is us," he said, his voice soft. "No matter what happens, we're not alone." My heart ached, torn between fear and longing. I leaned into him, and for the first time in months, I felt safe. But safety was fleeting. My condition worsened, the leukemia relentless. The doctors adjusted my treatment, but the side effects were brutal fevers, infections, days where I could barely lift my head. Lucas never wavered. He'd bring me playlists of cheesy 80s songs, insisting they were healing vibes. He'd read my plays, offering notes that made them sharper, truer. His presence was a lifeline, but doubt gnawed at me. What if I was a burden? What if he left like Ethan? One night, I pushed him away. I was angry not at him, but at the disease, at Ethan, at myself. "You don't have to do this," I snapped, my voice hoarse. "I'm not your charity case." Lucas didn't flinch. He sat on the edge of my bed, his eyes steady. "I'm here because I want to be, Jamie. Because I see you." His words cracked something open in me, and I cried, letting him hold me as the fear poured out. We grew closer, our bond deepening in stolen moments. A shared laugh over hospital jello, a brush of hands during a late-night talk, a quiet confession of dreams we still held. Lucas wanted to paint murals that told stories of survival. I wanted to write plays that gave voice to the voiceless. We were two broken pieces, fitting together in ways I hadn't thought possible. But love, I learned, doesn't erase pain. It complicates it. Then came the call from Ethan. 6 months after his text, he showed up at the hospital, unannounced. I was in remission fragile, but hopeful, and Lucas was by my side, sketching. Ethan stood in the doorway, disheveled, his eyes red. "I messed up, Jamie," he said, voice breaking. I was scared. I didn't know how to handle it. He begged for forgiveness, saying he'd been overwhelmed, that he'd never stopped loving me. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw his words back at him. But another part, the part that remembered our late-night talks, our shared dreams, wavered. Lucas watched silently, his jaw tight. When Ethan left, promising to call, Lucas took my hand. "You don't owe him anything," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "But whatever you choose, I'm here." His selflessness broke me. I realized then that love wasn't just grand gestures or promises. It was showing up, day after day, through the ugliest moments. I didn't take Ethan back. His betrayal had carved too deep a wound, and I was learning to love myself again, thanks to Lucas. But Ethan's return forced me to confront my own fears of trusting, of loving, of losing. I spent nights writing, pouring my pain into a new play about two men fighting for hope in a world that tried to break them. Lucas read every draft, his feedback sharp but kind, his belief in me unwavering. As spring bloomed in New York, so did our love. We left the hospital together, my remission holding, though the future was uncertain. Lucas moved into my apartment, our lives intertwining in small, beautiful ways: coffee in bed, shared sketches and scripts, quiet evenings watching the city from our fire escape. But cancer leaves scars, not just on the body but on the soul. I woke some nights, gasping, terrified the disease would return. Lucas would hold me, whispering, "We're stronger than this." One day, we visited a community center for queer youth, a place Maria had told us about. The kids there were like us, scared, defiant, dreaming. Lucas painted a mural on their wall, a vibrant explosion of color showing two hands clasped against a stormy sky. I read them excerpts from my play, their eyes wide with recognition. We were giving back, building something bigger than ourselves. It felt like healing. But life doesn't pause for happy moments. A year after remission, my tests showed anomalies. The cancer was back, quieter but still there. The news hit like a tidal wave, threatening to drown the fragile hope we'd built. Lucas didn't blink. "We've done this before," he said, squeezing my hand. "We'll do it again." His strength carried me, but I saw the fear in his eyes, the weight of loving someone who might not make it. The second round of treatment was grueling. My body fought, but my spirit faltered. Lucas stayed, painting in my hospital room, filling it with color when everything felt gray. One night, too weak to speak, I wrote him a letter, my hands shaking. "If I don't make it, know you gave me a reason to keep going." He read it, tears falling, and climbed into my bed, holding me. "You're not going anywhere," he whispered. "Not without me." We fought together through fevers, setbacks, and moments of despair. Lucas organized art shows to raise money for my treatment, turning our pain into something beautiful. My play was picked up by a small theater, and on opening night, I watched from a wheelchair as actors brought my words to life. The audience wept, and Lucas squeezed my hand, his pride brighter than the stage lights. It wasn't just my story. It was ours. As months passed, my body began to respond. The cancer retreated, Not gone, but manageable. We celebrated with a quiet picnic in Central Park. Just the two of us. The spring air warm against our skin. Lucas gave me a new sketch-a-portrait of us. Older. Laughing. With lines of a life well lived. "This is our future," he said. And for the first time, I believed it. The day I was declared stable, we walked through Brooklyn, hand in hand, the city alive around us. We stopped at the spot where we'd met 3 years ago at that Pride rally. I looked at Lucas, his eyes still sparkling with that defiant hope. And I knew I'd found something Ethan could never give me, a love that endured. Not just in words, but in action. We didn't promise forever. Cancer taught me that forever is fragile. Instead, we promised each day, each moment, each fight. We'd face it together. Not because we had to, but because we chose to. And in that choice, I found meaning not in surviving cancer, but in loving someone who made every battle worth fighting. Our story didn't end with a cure or a tragedy. It continued, messy and beautiful, in a tiny apartment filled with sketches and scripts, in a community center where we mentored kids who needed hope, in every quiet moment we stole from a world that tried to break us. Ethan's text had once felt like the end, but it was only the beginning spark that led me to Lucas, to love, to a life I'd never imagined.